Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are having a fantastic night. And I wanted to answer a bunch of questions that have come up here lately. And one of them, the big ones, are the ones in the title about who I am, like who am I, why I work with women, and why, if you're a woman who's got issues with men, it may be a really good idea to work with a man to to get through what you're struggling with. And there's also a question that came up yesterday. We talked about soulmates, and that led to somebody sending me a private message talking about, "Hey, Ricardo, thanks for jumping on." The question about soulmates led somebody to send me a question about what to do with when you're fighting. And the number one thing, I'm not going to go into the whole conflict resolution thing right now, we'll do that another time, but the number one thing about if you're in an argument with your partner, if things are really contentious between you, the number one thing you got to do is get yourself centered. If you're not centered, if you're not in a good place, if you're not feeling okay within yourself, then you're not going to be helping out the relationship. The argument is not going to go anywhere. You've got to take a breath. You've got to get your own nervous system calmed down and get clear about what you're feeling, because most of us, whenever we're in any kind of argument, the number one thing we do is try and win. And nobody wins an argument. Hey, Spencer, hope you're doing well, man. Let's see. Was there another question? Anyway, so we'll get into the topic for tonight. Who am I, and why do I work with women? And I started off when I was little. Right before I was born, and the few years before I was born, my dad started working on his PhD, and he was working the study of rhetoric, which is the art of persuasion. And he was studying feminist rhetoric. And so growing up, I was brought up on this diet of gender equality. And so I was constantly just inundated with this gender equality thing, and really honoring women and supporting women. And I saw my dad as a college professor supporting, many of the young women that were his students into really growing into themselves and outgrowing all the conditioning and programming that they had had their whole lives. And so, hey, Lisa, thanks for jumping on. Hey, Carrie. As I saw this growing up, and there was another huge influence on my life. Back in the 70s and early 80s, there were not many female PhDs, doctorate level PhDs, and I got to know a lot of them. I got to know a lot of women PhDs, and they were in leadership positions. They were department heads and council chairs, and it was it was like an everyday thing for me. So I grew up seeing what really strong, articulate women are like, and I got to grow up seeing what really powerful women who were confident and stood in their own power. Hey, Penny, I hope you're doing fantastic. Thanks for jumping on. It's like I always saw, everywhere I looked, I saw what strong, powerful women were like, and women that would tell the men, even other PhDs, to be quiet and tell them exactly why they needed to be quiet. There were women that had the gift of tact. And is that Nathan Brown jumping on my live stream? Son, I am so freaking proud of you. Everybody, this young man, Nathan Brown, we are in the presence of excellence. Nathan Brown, at 25, just turned 26 years old, finished the Tour de France his first try. He is an absolute rock star in the world of cycling. So Nathan, congratulations, man. And the days in that polka dot jersey, I am so stinking proud of you. So just bless you. So I'm talking about why I work with women, and and it's like growing up, I saw what strong women were like, and I heard all the arguments about women's equality, and it was an everyday thing in the topics of conversation in my house. And I saw what happened when women learned to believe in themselves and to believe in their own power and begin to carry themselves with confidence in the world. And I loved seeing that transformation, to see what these really strong women, were like. And also I saw what it was like when, like, all the social programming, just felt like too much for women, and they didn't stand up for themselves, and they didn't take care of themselves. They didn't put their own needs first, and went in a spectrum from taking care of everybody else first all the way over to letting people walk all over them and never really standing up for themselves. And and when I was younger, I was just like, what? I don't get it. Why the hell would they do that? And as I learned more, I realized how strong that social programming is. And and I even saw it in my own family, where with my, where my dad was such, like, at work, he was such, a strong advocate for women, and really, like, he'd really get in a guy's ass that came in being chauvinist in one of his classes, and I saw him tear guys apart several times, and it was really cool to see that. And so in a way, like, I've been called like a champion for women, and it always catches me off guard, but in a way that's really, what I do. But in a way, it's a legacy. It's like I'm just continuing and going even deeper with the work than what my father did, and so I'm, and it's an honor to carry that flag. But here's the thing: even though my dad was a champion for women at work, he wasn't at home. At home, he was really insecure and had to be a know-it-all in a way. And while he loved my mom incredibly, it wasn't okay for her to be the center of attention, and he was really kind of childish in how he would either put her down or make fun of her or do anything like that. And they were still old school. They were born in the 30s, and she had to do all the work around the house for the most part. And and so I got to see, like, on one side, here's this gender equality piece where we empower women to really step into themselves and be the most awesome women they can be. And on the other side, here's this guy that's kind of a chauvinist, and that's what I grew up with. And the interplay of those, I didn't like it. And there were little stories, like, my dad and I at night, when we always had dinner together as a family, my dad and I would always sit at the table where we could see the TV, and we would watch TV while we had dinner, at the dining table. But my mom sat on the other side of the table and couldn't see it, and it bugged the crap out of me. Like, it didn't make sense with these teachings about honoring women, and then seeing how she was kind of left out. And I asked her several times about it, and I was a little guy, and she said, no, that's fine. But it didn't, I didn't like it. It didn't fit. I knew it wasn't okay, but she was playing that role of the women whose needs come last. And, and after all the years of school and graduate school and training as a therapist, as I've been doing this 16, 17 years now, I've seen firsthand the effects of women, the effects that it has on women's lives when they don't take care of themselves, when they don't keep their own cup full by meeting their own needs and tending to themselves, before anybody else. Because as Carrie commented on the live stream last night, you can't pour anything out of an empty cup. And if you're constantly taking care of everybody else, and if you got kids, you take care of them first. They wind up eating before you do, and you take care of your stuff, and fix your own plate after you get the kids taken care of. It's like that happens, but we all need the time to take care of ourselves, put ourselves first. And and women especially were not taught that. They, and some women still aren't taught that. And so, for me, like the working with women just sort of came naturally through all the teachings I had growing up and all my training as a therapist. It seemed to naturally flow. But here's why it's important to work with a man if you're a woman who has issues with men. Tebra, we're brainwashed into thinking men are more important, sadly. I know, exactly. And all the arguments that I've heard about that, and thank you for saying that, that's a great point. And men are brainwashed to think that their time and energy is more important too. And so many dads wind up sort of being reclusive when they get home from work, and they'll either spend time on the computer, they'll spend time like in their man cave, or they've got TV shows they want to watch, and leave everything up to the moms, and that is flat out fucking not okay. That is one of those things where you will hear me say every time, men, get out of the fucking kiddie pool. It's time to grow up. It's time to take responsibility for being a man, for being responsible for fostering the growth of your kids, and for doing your part around the house. That been told by many you're too outspoken. Yeah, well, you know what? Outspoken women completely fucking rock. And so thank you for being too outspoken. Don't ever doubt that. And so and actually, Carrie, glad you said that too. There's, the men, their argument essentially comes down to being a bully about why you shouldn't be so outspoken. And there's really no argument about it, no matter what they say. It comes down to judgment, and they're being a bully. And it's not cool. And hey, Alan, thanks for jumping on, man. Hey, Joe, hope you're doing fantastic. The real truth is, if you're a woman that has any kind of issues with a man, it's probably a good idea to work with a man, and a man that can show up in certain ways. And it's like, if you're having issues with men, if you've had issues with men, it's because you don't have sound relationships with them. Now, I know that sounds sort of moronic, but here's the thing. 90%, probably 95%, and 100% of stats are made up on the spot anyway, you know that, right? So, but probably 90% of the relationship issues with men happen because you didn't have a sound relationship with a man to start with, to understand how women should be treated, ought to be treated, and never been given permission from a strong male role model in your life to set boundaries with other men. It's like my daughter in 4th grade had a young boy who really liked her, but this kid was a complete fucking jerk, and he kept touching her and touching her and touching her all the time, and it was really getting to her. And I was like, sweetie, you absolutely don't have to take it, and we talked to the teacher didn't do anything, talked to the principal didn't do anything, and I said, okay, if you're getting touched and you don't want to be touched, first you tell a teacher, which you did. If that doesn't work, first you tell the boy, do not touch me. If he keeps on, you tell a teacher. First you say, don't touch me, then you tell a teacher. If that doesn't happen, then you take the flat of your hand and you hit him right in the nose. And she was like, I might get in trouble. I was like, no, any teacher who doesn't take care of this, they're in trouble with me. They're in trouble with your mom. You absolutely have permission. You absolutely ought to knock this kid in the nose if he's touching you and you've told him to stop. And scream it out loud. Say, don't ever touch me again. And we practiced. And I was touching her. I was touching her on the shoulder in the car as we're going down the road. And I held my hand out like this, and I said, okay, there's my nose. What do you do? And she screamed it. Bam! It hit me in the nose on my hand. It hit me and said, don't you ever touch me again. And I said, yeah, and you yell it loud enough so everybody hears you say it. And, it's like so many women are not taught that it's okay, especially at a young time. And and it absolutely is okay. It's okay to stand up for yourself. And so many women have never been taught that it absolutely, and never been taught by a man. And there should have been a man in your life. There should have been a strong man in your life telling you that it's okay to stand up for yourself, to take care of yourself, and to say no to a man who's a jerk in your life. It's like, where was the man in your life that was there to teach you that? And most women didn't have that. And hey, April, hey, Sandra, thanks for jumping on. So it's like, when there wasn't a man there to teach you why it's okay and why it's necessary to take care of yourself, when there wasn't a man to not just protect you, which ought to happen, but to teach you how to protect yourself emotionally. And it's like, it's time for women to learn that. And and so much great work is done in women's groups around this, but there's a different flavor to it. And when it's facilitated by a man. And so going to a man, this is what I've said for years. It's like, so many women have never had the experience of getting to sit and work with a man, particularly a masculine man, who's got his heart open and who, doesn't want or need anything from you. It's like the only thing that I need from, my clients is the money for my time, and that's it. It's like, my life's doing great. And so, and that's not the way most relationships are, but you need to, most relationships in your life, it's like, if the guy's got, insecurities and he's going to try and make you pay for him, you learn to sort of tiptoe around him so that you don't piss him off, so he doesn't turn into a jerk. And it doesn't work. You can't learn to stand up for yourself if you're trying to avoid having him flip out. And so learning the skills, to be able to confront a man, it is vital. It is absolutely vital. And so this program we're starting in 10 days. This program is, really designed for women in their late 30s and early 40s to, and we've got a couple of women in their mid to 45, 46, that are interested in it too, because they're still right in the thick of this transformation. It's like, women go through a huge emotional transformation and a huge maturing process to like get to that next level of emotional maturity during their early 40s. And it does begin, it can begin as early as, the late 30s for some women. And it's a time when you start having feelings you've never had before, and you don't know what they are, and you don't know where they're coming from. And it's an incredibly scary time and an incredibly confusing time. And it's like you start noticing layers to yourself that you never knew were there. And, and you start questioning everything. You start wondering whether, hey, Leslie, thanks for being on here. I don't think I've seen you on one of my live streams before. But during this time in the early 40s, you start questioning who you are, because you know that you're not who you thought you were in your 20s and early 30s. Like you've outgrown that, and women are shamed for asking those questions. You start asking, who am I? It's like you start wondering, it's like, who the fuck am I? Because I'm not who I always thought I was. You start questioning everything. It's like what somebody said the other day, she was questioning, has everything in my life been a lie? And no, it hadn't been a lie, but it's where you were at the time, and now you're getting to somewhere else, and it means you got to peel back all those layers of who you've thought you were and who you think you're supposed to be, so that you can get to who you really are, and then learning to walk that into the world and how to be that strong woman, and to do it with confidence. and to get in touch with all those needs that have never been met before, and to be able to make peace with that so that you can walk forward with acceptance rather than bitterness is a powerful, powerful transformation to make. And so why, as a man, am I teaching this to women? There's lots of women that have never had the experience to work with a man, again, sort of a masculine man. I look like this, and half the time, you guys haven't seen me do live streams much with a do-rag, but yeah, it's like half the, I look like a biker dude half the time. But to work with a man who's firm in his masculinity, who also has his heart open. Most women have never had the chance to really bring their heart in the presence of strong masculinity, and in the presence, of that masculine dude who's got his heart open and can understand and really listen to what's going on with them. And so women learning to stand in their strength in the presence of strong masculinity is a powerful, powerful opportunity. And it's a chance that, every woman should have. Because no matter how much work you do as a woman, until you get to practice, until the real life situation comes up where you have to look a man in the eye and say no. And, it's like women can pretty easily learn how to do it from a place of anger, from that victim, no, you're not going to take something away from me. And that's a necessary step, but to go all the way to be able to do it from a place of compassion and faith within yourself, to where you're not carrying that anger and bitterness around with you anymore, is an incredible thing. Then that's when that divine goddess energy, is flowing through you, and every interaction becomes a teachable moment where, the men that are coming at you with just the lower level energies is first of all, a lot of them are going to be intimidated and scared away, so they don't even come onto your radar. But the ones that do, every now and then, some of those men are going to need the teachings that you have to offer, and you can't teach if you're coming from that place of bitterness. And so hey, Suzanne, thanks for jumping on again. And Shelly Wood, I haven't seen you on one of my live streams. Thanks for jumping on. Hope you're doing well. And hey, Beth, I hope everything's going fantastic for you. I hope I get to see you at the high school reunion coming up this fall. So, yeah, again, why do I work with women? It's for the same reason that, women have always worked for me. It's there's a different flavor to the teachings, and I needed to be shown how to be the kind of man that I want to be by really strong women who stood in their power. And I didn't find many guides, any male mentors who had their hearts as open as mine, who also had the ability to teach how to have an open heart as a man. And and the teachers that I found were women. It's of course I found some men, and I'm still close with several of them. It's awesome. But it's my spiritual teacher was a woman, and several of the grandmothers that had a major impact on my life, they were all women, and they are the ones, it sounds strange, doesn't it? But they are the ones who taught me how to be the kind of man that I always dreamed of being. And, and they showed me what a strong feminine presence looks like. They showed me what that grandmother energy, that medicine woman, powerful feminine presence, is like, and how to respect it and how to honor it. And what I noticed, that as I started working with clients, so many of them were women, and the women kept coming in. The clients that got the biggest benefit out of working with me were the women. And it was because I taught them, how to stand up for themselves, and how to tap in with that inner voice, with that divine flow within them, and how to carry it into the world. And, it's like women don't need permission from men to be themselves. Absolutely not. Women, when you give yourself permission to be exactly who the fuck you are, without any regard for what anybody thinks, then watch out, world. And women, we need you to do that. We absolutely need you to do that. And here's the paradox. Some women need to be given that permission to give themselves permission, because so many women have never been taught that they have the power and authority to decide who they are. So many women have only been taught that they have to be what somebody else needs them to be. And that's my message. I am here to teach, like, women, we need you to be exactly who you are. For you to go to learn, to give yourself permission to go to that quiet place inside and get a sense of who you are. And that means you got to dig through a bunch of layers of bullshit about who you were taught you're supposed to be. But when you get through those layers, then you're going to find this real authentic presence inside, and it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to be scary to carry it in the world, because you're going to break a lot of old patterns in doing it. And here's the thing, I will be right there with you, cheering you on the whole time. And and because I've got the extensive experience working with couples and with men, I can prepare you ahead of time for so many of the pitfalls that come in being a strong woman, carrying her divine feminine energy into the world. It's like I can tell you so many of the objections of men. I can tell you what shuts a man up quickly, and how to do it from a place of power, how to do it from a place of compassion, not from a place of anger. Because anytime that anger's coming up, not anytime, a lot of the time that anger's coming up, there's a little victim tone with it. And hey, Ashley, thanks for jumping on. So again, it's not that anybody needs my permission to step into their power. It's absolutely not that. But there are times, here's what I think, honestly. If men hadn't been such dumb fucks for, the last, 2,000 years, then we would still be honoring the divine feminine in every woman. And fathers would, be an active part of their daughters' lives and teaching them how to be amazing, incredible women as the young ladies grow. And that it's my belief that that's the way it ought to be, and if you look at, there's so many strong women that I've known in my life, and if you look at them, yeah, you like that, Carrie? I like it too. It's like, I know in my daughter's life, it's like I want to be there with her every step of the way, being her biggest cheerleader and one of her biggest guides. Is like, she's got a great mom. She's actually got two great moms with her mom and her stepmom. And, and so when she's at her mom, she's got them showing her what strong women look like. And here with, when she's with me, it's like she's getting this, this man's voice in her head saying, you are awesome. You don't have to take crap off of anybody. Your job is to be the greatest you that you can be, even if people don't like it, and and that's one of the greatest honors in the world, and I get to do that for lots of women. There were lots of women clients that come in. It's like, in some way I'm the good dad that was never there, or the good brother that was never there, and and I shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't need therapists. We shouldn't need life coaches. We should have families and communities. It's like, I would love it. I would absolutely love it if I were completely out of a job. I would love it if there were no women that needed this program to learn how to step in their own power and to carry it into the world, to be able to stand strong, confident, with that like unshakable confidence in who they are. I would love it if every woman were already doing that. I'd go back to doing construction work and I'd be happy as a fucking clam. That would be great with me. But until that day comes when the men are doing their jobs to support the women how they need to be supported, then I'm going to keep doing this. And I ask you guys to support me. And I want to fill this program up. We start in 10 days. And this program is going to be absolutely awesome. Hey, Brian, hope you're doing good, man. We start in 10 days. And this program is going to be an absolutely awesome thing. So you're going to get both. You're going to get this masculine perspective on strong femininity, on the divine feminine, and you're going to get it coming from a man, and you're also going to have 11 sisters there supporting you in a small group of, be in small groups of 3 to touch base with, a couple of times a week. And it, and so you're going to get both of those pieces. You're going to get the divine feminine perspective. You're going to get all those teachings. You're going to get the masculine perspective on how women should be treated. Like that divine masculine in relationship with the divine feminine. And most women have never had that before. And so we get a good dose of that in the, in the workshop, and you got your sisters there to back you up. And so, we start in 10 days. I'll put the link in the comments here, and you can go check out my personal Facebook page, or check out the Pillars of Awesome Relationships Facebook page. That's my book. And hope you guys have a great night. Love you. Bless you. Call me if you need me. Pick up the frickin' phone. And hey, Misty, thanks for jumping on. I didn't see that you jumped on. I don't think I've seen you here before. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment there. Send me a direct message, or send me a private message on the Facebook Messenger if you have any questions whatsoever. So we're launching this program in 10 days, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Ciao.